Okay guys, today we are going to have a look at the Encyclicals of Pope John the 23rd. Old mate over here, who's having a little ponder. Oh, I just noticed he has a really nice ring on. It's exciting. Anyway, this still falls under the old syllabus dot point, which is the one we were doing last lesson, which is the first syllabus dot point on the Christianity part of the syllabus, which is about explaining his contribution. Because while we looked at Vatican II in a really broad sense, we need to look and zone in a little bit more specifically on the two encyclicals that he particularly contributed and he wrote. So first, let's begin. What do you need to know first? What in the earth is an encyclical? Okay, this is the definition of what an encyclical is. It's a papal letter. Papal meaning of the papacy. Okay, papacy, Pope. Pope, Vatican. Okay, it is a papal letter, so a letter sent by the Pope to all bishops of the Roman Catholic Church. So it's basically sent out officially and addressed to them, but think of it like a really important document that everyone has to pay attention to. Okay, Pope John the 23rd wrote two encyclicals as part of Vatican II. The first one is called Mother and Teacher, or Mater El Masteria. I can't pronounce it. Magistra, something like that. It means mother and teacher in Latin, and Pacem in Terris, which means in Latin peace on earth. Okay, these documents, both as a whole, highlighted the importance of Christianity to social progress. Okay, it says, as Christians, we have a responsibility to progress with society and respond to society. So, you need to write this stuff down. If you're not writing this stuff down, you've got some issues. Pause the tutorial, write this stuff down. The first encyclical, Mater El Magistra, kind of was all about social reform. It advocated, okay? What do you do when you advocate something? Or you advocated something, okay? Advocate means to support. Support and recommend. Okay, it's not just support, it's the idea of recommendation as well. Sorry, that's not how you spell recommend, but anyway. A particular cause or policy. That's what it means to advocate. So this encyclical was recommending very strongly and supporting the idea of social reform. Okay, reform. What does the word reform mean? Okay, if you look at the root of the word reform, it means change. Okay, the idea of social change, changing things in society. Okay, and it advocated that and promoted this idea of changing things in society or social reform. It promoted the idea of assistance to underdeveloped countries. Okay, so it said these people, okay, are underdeveloped. It is our responsibility to respond to them. It also promoted things like a living wage for all workers, so a fair wage, support for socialist measures that promise better conditions for society. If you were to summarize, it also detailed the need to have family values, truth, justice, charity, and freedom. Okay, and it talks about the way in which if you center a life on these values, truth, justice, charity, and freedom, it will lead to a better awareness of the world, and it will lead to better values within our world. This document is like heaps of pages, okay? I have put a link to it in our folders in our small group. You can see it's a huge document. This is it in like 3 sentences. It is really, really summarized, okay? So you may need a little bit more information than this. But if you haven't already, you need to write this down. Pause the video tutorial and write it. Okay, Pacem in Terris means... Oh, I spelled that wrong. There's 2 R's, I think. Yeah. Whoops, sorry. That's meant to be Pacemintris. Whoops, sorry. This obviously, as the name suggests, has a focus on living in peace. It focuses on the dignity of the human person, okay? It talks about the way in which human beings were made in the image of God. Now, this seems something odd to you, okay? This seems bizarre. Of course, this is always what the Catholic Church has promoted, the idea of human beings made in the image of God. Wrong. For a long time before Vatican II, we talked about this last lesson, the idea that the people of the church were separated from the church. There was this idea of this institution, but it didn't really focus on the people. It didn't really recognize the people as being part of the church and really the church itself. Okay, so this document again refocused the lens or refocused the way in which you're looking on the dignity of the human person and the fact that the person is made, a human being is made in the image of God. Okay, it also, beyond that, focused on a respect for human goodness, peace, and justice. So the fact that all human beings are made in the likeness of God compels us to act in a way that we respect the dignity of other people. We respect their basic rights. We respect their right to live in a peaceful world. Okay, so Pacem in Terras was addressed to all mankind. Okay, if you read the first line of it. And again, if you want to read the first line, sorry, it's in the small folders. I've put a link to it. It says, to our venerable brethren, the patriarchs, primates, archbishops, and bishops, and this is the important bit, and all other local ordinaries who are in peace and communion with the apostolic see, that very big words that just mean everyone who's important in the church, and to the clergy who are the lay people, the everyday people of the church, and the faithful of the entire Catholic world, and to all men of good will. Okay, if you want to open this up or just Google Pacem in Terras and you'll come up with the answer. It is addressed to the entire Catholic world and beyond the Catholic world to all men of good will. It is promoting this idea that that Catholicism is no longer a denomination of Christianity in isolation, but rather it is focusing on looking within the Christian tradition at all people, not just addressing it to Catholics, and all men of goodwill. How broad is that? Okay, that is addressed to everyone. And it set out a recognition of human rights and duties as the foundation of world peace and pressed for a peaceful coexistence between the West and, at the time, the communist East. Now, why is this important? Well, at the time in which this was being written, the Cold War was going on between the Soviet Union and the US. So it was it actually came out at a very interesting time, this Pacem in Terras, in calling for peace. It was a time where the Cold War was happening. So this not fighting war, but this whole nuclear battle between two world superpowers. As a fun fact, through the creation of this, Pope John the 23rd managed to get a dialogue to both the US and the Soviet Union, who were on this brink of this nuclear war, and pleaded with them to not be deaf to the cries of humanity, is the way it was phrased. So yeah, Pacem in Terras, live peacefully. Everyone, not just Catholics. That's the main idea that you're getting from that. TLDR. This is a summary. It stands for too long, didn't read. This is the significance of Pacem in Terras. This is the significance of Mater El Magistra. Okay? If you want the short summarized version, this is it. Okay? Of each of them. If you want to write that down, pause the video tutorial, go ahead. Not too sure why I have a capital H on highlights, but, ignore that. Okay. This is also the summary. The too long, didn't read. All the rest of the other stuff, okay? That's what it stands for. Too long, didn't read. All the rest of the stuff, if you haven't read anything thus far, you haven't noted things down, this is the main idea, okay? These two documents, Pacem in Terras and Mater El Magistra, focus on social change, okay? They were radical. We use radical in inverted commas. They don't appear to be radical to you, but at the time they were very radical because they recognized the less fortunate, and they insisted that the responsibility to respond to these people was a Christian responsibility. It not only recognized the less fortunate, but it says you are responsible to respond to them and the rest of society. Okay, you can no longer exist in isolation. And this idea at the time was very radical. Coming from an institution that since the 1500s, so 500 years, had not opened itself up to the world, all of a sudden, boom, here's the world, respond to it. It was pretty radical. They both urge Catholics to unite with other Christians, and actually beyond that, I'll make a note, and with other religions, okay? Other traditions, I'm going to call religions traditions because that's what we do, okay? So they kind of urge Catholics to unite with other Christians and other traditions, and once again, respond to the signs of the times in light of the gospel. What is happening in your world at the moment? How can I respond to that with the same values that I get from the gospel? So from the example of Jesus. How do I respond to this in the way that Jesus would? Hey, you know those bracelets? WWJD? That's it. That's the contextual version of responding to the signs of the times in light of the gospel. Looking at a situation that you're faced with, what would Jesus do? There you go, if you want a parallel. Questions I need you to do. There's only 3 of them. It won't take you very long. You can read them yourself, pause the video tutorial, write them down. Have a nice day. I will be back next lesson, guys. We are going to go through questions 1, 2, and 3. They need to be done in your book. They need to be handwritten. I will mark them. If you would like them marked, I would probably recommend doing it on a loose piece of paper. If you don't want them marked, or if you want to do them in your book, you can come and see me and I can take a picture of your book and I'll mark it and give it back to you, okay? But questions 1, 2, and 3 must be complete. Okay, see you on Friday, guys.